Hello everyone, welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more exciting true crime content. Today we look at the story of the ex-girlfriends of an already jailed fraudster who have been sentenced for helping him and a wider crime community network con £1 million from banks. A Croydon-based fraud gang used the money stolen from American Express, Barclaycard and others to buy Rolex and Cartier watches and Burberry clothing, as well as leased cars and electronics. On Friday, January 11th, two women were given suspended sentences for their role in the con. Both are ex-girlfriends of Marcus Carter, who is serving time at HMP Wandsworth. Mr. Carter dated both Abina Amakwa Frempong, 34, and Ya Abrifa, 37, and used them in the fraud. Miss Frempong of Transmere Road, Pettswood in Bromley, helped Mr. Carter pay for luxury goods using fraudulently claimed bank cards, which he would export back to his native Ghana. Miss Abrifa of Hive Road, Thornton Heath, allowed Carter to use her own bank account and registered his high-end designer watches, including Rolex and Cartier watches, in her name. Mr. Carter, 38, is already serving time at HMP Wandsworth for an unrelated matter, but was sentenced to 7 years and 2 months in prison in December for the fraud he set up with the two South Norwood men. Mr. Carter, Jeffrey Spencer and Frank Allen, both of Belgrave Road, South Norwood, created make-believe companies to apply for credit from major banks and credit card companies. The gang would then rapidly spend up to the limit buying a range of luxury items without making any repayments. Items purchased include over £126,000 worth of mobile phones and tablet devices, Cartier and Rolex watches, and items from Burberry. Craig Apel, 29, of Hazelbank Road, Lewisham, was sentenced to 140 hours unpaid work to be carried out within 12 months and was ordered to do 15 days of rehabilitation activity. He had taken an £8,250 Rolex from Cartier while he was in prison and gave it to Frempong to pawn. How did the fraud work? Well, the court heard that between June 2014 and February 2016, the group of six would use false documents to buy an inactive company name and appoint a fake director. Once the company was set up, fake backdated accounts were submitted to Companies House, which gave the impression that they had a very successful trading history and represented a low credit risk. They would then make applications to their chosen credit card companies, who, after carrying out the necessary checks, were reassured by the false information and approved the line of credit. This gave the fraudsters and their fraudulent companies access to high credit limits, and they certainly enjoyed themselves, spending almost £1 million on those credit cards in less than 2 years. American Express grew suspicious and their fraud came tumbling down as City of London's police specialist fraud team uncovered the wider criminal network. Dinners had at exclusive restaurants in the Dorchester and the Gow, and designer shopping sprees in Burberry, Gucci and Prada. Most of these goods were delivered to virtual company addresses, which they had also faked. These goods would be taken and the gang would move on to their next business. They also brought leased vehicles and electronics, and even specifically targeted cab firm Addison Lee by making journeys they did not pay for. However, the minicab company got its own back on the fraudsters by handing over details like journey history and call recordings, which showed the group's whereabouts at given times and was a means of identifying the members. Miss Frempong was found guilty of conspiracy to acquire criminal property and was sentenced to 12 months in prison, suspended for 2 years at Southwark Crown Court. She has to do 100 hours unpaid work to be carried within 12 months. Ya Abrifa was found guilty of the same charge and was sentenced to 18 months in prison, suspended for 2 years, and 120 hours unpaid work to be carried out within 12 months. The judge announced confiscation proceedings will also be held to reclaim the ill-gotten gains. Mr. Carter pleaded guilty to conspiracy to defraud and conspiracy to acquire criminal property. He was sentenced to 7 years and 2 months in prison and disqualified from being a company director for 12 years. Spencer, also known as Victor Templar Kouchi, was found guilty of conspiracy to defraud, conspiracy to acquire criminal property, and failing to disclose the PIN to his 2 mobile phones. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison and disqualified from being a company director for 12 years. This is not a victimless crime. Fraud investigator and officer in charge of the case, Andy Cope, said, "These 3 men thought they could get away with their devious crimes. However, the fraud squad's investigation has uncovered the full extent of the complex fraudulent activity. Today's sentencing should serve as a warning to those who are thinking about committing similar offences. The POCA orders sought by the prosecution will stop the offenders from being able to re-offend and will remove any financial benefit they gain from the offending." What do you think about Mr. Carter's crimes and the fact he got 2 of his ex-girlfriends to help him? Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and a share, and leave any thoughts or suggestions you have in the comments section. We love to read through them all. And if you're new but enjoy UK true crime content, then subscribe to see when our newest video releases. And as always, stay safe.